Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. One of the things that always fascinated me about Judaism, really since I'm a teenager, was this idea that in order to be in good standing with God, you didn't have to be Jewish. And that was something that was kind of different than a lot of other religions, especially Western religions, where many are of the impression that in order to be in good standing with God, you have to convert to our faith. And if you don't, we have to pursue conversion of you. And if you still don't, by the end of your life, then you're damned to hell, right? There's going to be negative consequences that come about from your unwillingness to see the truth, to be a part of our religious denomination. And Judaism, I found to be very universalistic, very embracing of all of humanity. And Judaism says that you don't have to be of the Jewish faith in order to be in good standing with God. So the Jewish nation is founded in the Bible when they come out of the land of Egypt. They're enslaved in Egypt. When they come out, they are a newborn nation that receives the Torah, that receives the law at Sinai. This is all discussed in Exodus chapter 19 and 20. But there was a moral code that predated the ritual code that was given at Sinai. So we were given a lot of extra laws at Sinai, but there was a basic moral code that all humanity was meant to live by that's already hinted at in the book of Genesis. Many of the moral pillars of society that build a moral society are alluded to or said outright in the book of Genesis as to how to live. We call them in our tradition the Noahide Code. And the reason they're called the Noahide Code is because, well, after trial and error for 10 generations between Adam and Noah, the world was not going in the direction that it was supposed to go to. And God tells Noah, you got to build this ark, this boat that's going to save you and your family, who are the only ones that are righteous and living a righteous lifestyle, meaning by abiding by this moral code. And we're going to, God says, I'm going to save you and your family, and the rest of humanity is going to be wiped out. And God then makes a covenant with Noah for his descendants forever to uphold morality in the world. And if you keep the 7 laws of Noah, which again is basic morality that many of us are familiar with, the 10 commandments, the basics of the 10 commandments are already embedded in the Noahide Code. If a person abides by those basic laws of morality, in particular because God said so, we say, as Jews, you are in good standing with God. There is no reason for you to convert. So a few months back, there was a clip going around where Tucker Carlson had a comedian, a Jewish comedian on. They were talking about this idea. So let's check out this clip and talk about it as he goes through it.
Non-Jews have 7 laws of Noah. That's all you got to do, and you get into heaven. And they're pretty easy.
They're great.
They're pretty easy. Don't eat an animal while it's still living.
Exactly.
Should be a no-brainer.
Don't kill.
Don't kill. Harder for some people, but not others. Don't rape. Even harder for some people, but most are still on the right side of it. I forget what the other ones are.
Adultery.
Yeah, adultery is one of them. So the 7, just for clarity's sake, is not to worship idols. Number 2, not to blaspheme. In other words, not to curse God. Number 3, not to steal. Number 4, not to commit illicit sexual relationships. So that would include things like rape and adultery. Number 5 would be not to murder. Okay. Number 6 is to not eat the limb of a living animal, which essentially boils down to not being cruel to animals. And number 7 is appointing courts of justice that are going to uphold and enforce the other 6. Let's continue.
Yeah. It's not that hard. And you get to go to heaven and you'll be right alongside a rabbi.
Well, not only that, they're like very reasonable.
Yeah, they're not like hard ones to do.
No, they're all kind of rooted in natural law.
Yeah.
No, I read that. And
yeah, when you convert, they're like, what are you doing this for? You're just gonna make it harder on yourself. You're going to heaven already.
That's interesting. Okay. You don't feel there's any contempt at all.
Even Jesus is like, accept everyone, take them in.
Right.
But people don't really do that.
No.
You know?
Not at all.
Yeah.
So again, that is the idea that when it comes to conversion, everyone is welcome. You can convert. It is possible to convert to Judaism, but it's like, why would you want those extra responsibilities on yourself? And maybe you do. Maybe you are so enraptured by Judaism, and you have such a thirst for abiding by these laws that you want to fully convert. That's your prerogative, and that if your lifestyle guides you in that direction, more power to you. However, that's not a requirement. And so what we sort of make sure of when somebody does come to convert, that they really are serious about embracing the totality of Jewish law, including ritual law. And so the reason that it can be a difficult process is because there's a lot to take on that are ritual and not necessarily connected directly to morality. So like the laws of keeping kosher and keeping the Sabbath, right? The Sabbath laws are very intricate and involves things like not driving on the Sabbath, not doing all sorts of creative labors. Kosher laws makes eating out really difficult, and unless you live in certain areas where there's a lot of kosher food available, that can place some serious curtailing of your life. And so praying 3 times a day and putting on tefillin every day if you're a male, and Shabbat candles every Friday night if you're a female, and laws of family purity. And then there's a lot that goes into living a traditional Jewish life. And again, everyone is welcome to that. But before just willy-nilly converting people, we have to kind of make sure that you get real exposure to what that lifestyle is going to look like, how it's going to affect you, and then see if this is something that you want or are ready for, or logistically can embrace, and then go forward with it. Just FYI, putting some extra clarity on this.
I do think that the Sabbath laws are, like if you're using somebody else to do something that you're not allowed to do.
Yeah. Well, I talk about the loopholes in that special where it's like you're actually not allowed to fully ask them, can you turn this light on? Because then that's like you doing it. But
so it's by implication.
It sure is dark in here. I'm not allowed to turn the lights on. Non-Jews are allowed. But I can't do it. It does suck. I want to read. Yeah, it's so loopholey. It's great.
I didn't know what the Talmud was until pretty recently. I'm reading it. I actually think it's really interesting.
It's very interesting. But there's so one of the commandments, you try to do as many as you can. Some of them are big temple based, so you just can't anymore. You don't have a temple.
Not since 70 AD.
Boom. They're going to have another one, the Messiah, they say. So those laws will be back. But you try to do as many as you can. They're good deeds and they're bad deeds, but they're all like commandments. 613 of them.
Amazing.
It's nuts. When you get up the road from Tel Aviv, it's a windy road. And as soon as you get over that hill, it's a costume party. It's Fiddler on the Roof.
It's the best.
It's so weird. It's like you're living in an ancient time.
It's the most interesting place on the planet.
So Tucker talks over here in a very positive way about Judaism and his engagement with Jewish law and the Talmud and different ideas like that. I think the main takeaway point from this conversation, which I thought was a great clip, is that in the Torah, in Jewish tradition, the Jewish people are called to be a light to the nations in the book of Isaiah. They're also called elsewhere to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And the idea is that the Jewish people as a whole are supposed to be sort of the clergy for the world, right? Not just anyone who has the name Jew on them, but somebody who's observing of Jewish law and living according to the way that Judaism says that we should be living. That's what it means to be a light unto the nations and to be a holy nation, a kingdom of priests. And the idea is to make the world into a place that is like a house of worship, where in every house of worship, you have to have sort of the clergy and you have to have the congregation. It's not really a house of worship if it's just clergy, and it's not a house of worship if it's just congregation. The two work together. They're like two parts of the yin yang in order to make one whole house of worship. And ultimately, planet Earth, this world that we live in together, is meant to be a world in which together we form as a place that is a house of worship for God. And that's what it means in the book of Tzfania, chapter 3, verse 9, or the book of Zephaniah, as it would be in English, that on that day, that one day, we're all aspiring to a future where God will purify the languages of all the world, and all together as one world congregation, we will look to God and the glory of God will be revealed and praise God all together. May we see soon the fulfillment of that prophecy and all good things and peace among all people. If you like this content in general, I'd highly suggest that you hit that subscribe button to stay in touch on a daily basis with all of our new content. Take care, everybody.